Hello everyone, welcome to Diplomatic Brief. After the border conflict broke out between Thailand and Cambodia, even though there was a ceasefire, things still haven't really settled down. If this drags on, it could affect the development of the entire ASEAN region. That's when China stepped in. Taking advantage of the annual meeting of the China-Mekong Cooperation Mechanism, Foreign Minister Wang met separately with officials from both Thailand and Cambodia. Afterwards, he brought the two of them together for a face-to-face sit-down over afternoon tea. On August 14th, Wang invited Cambodian Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Prak Sokhonn and Thai Foreign Minister Maris to have tea together in Anning, Yunnan. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs described the meeting as taking place in a harmonious atmosphere, where they had a friendly and candid exchange regarding the Thailand-Cambodia border conflict. Wang said that neither side wants the border conflict to continue, and both are willing to resume dialogue and improve relations. This foreign ministers' meeting held in Anning, Yunnan, provided an opportunity for this. The aim is to promote peace, harmony, and good neighborliness, which is also the way neighboring countries should get along. It's better to resolve conflicts than to let them fester. We hope that both Thailand and Cambodia can jointly send out a message of peace from Anning. Wang pointed out that China supports both sides in engaging in contact and dialogue, eliminating misunderstandings, rebuilding mutual trust, and resuming normal exchanges and cooperation. China also supports both sides in fully implementing the Thailand-Cambodia Border Joint Committee. The special meeting reached a consensus to consolidate the current ceasefire situation on the ground, support ASEAN in playing its proper role, and resolve issues appropriately in the ASEAN way. It also supports both sides in responding to the demands of their peoples and reopening the border checkpoints as soon as possible. Wang stated that China is willing, according to the wishes of both Cambodia and Thailand, to provide support and assistance for demining and other efforts in the border areas between the two countries. He also specifically mentioned an old Chinese saying, "Brothers benefit from being close, even when facing external challenges." Cambodia and Thailand are forever neighbors and brothers. He believes that both sides can properly manage specific disputes and work together to tackle various global challenges. This will surely be welcomed by the peoples of both countries and is also the shared expectation of countries in the region. The foreign ministers of Cambodia and Thailand sincerely expressed their gratitude to China for providing an opportunity for both sides to communicate. They highly praised China for playing a constructive role in easing tensions and promoting dialogue. Both sides emphasized the preciousness and importance of peace and expressed their renewed willingness to actively implement the ceasefire agreement, make full and effective use of dialogue mechanisms, and manage and resolve disputes peacefully. The foreign ministers of the three countries agreed to continue maintaining communication in a flexible manner. Regarding global conflicts, China has always handled them with a diplomatic policy of encouraging peace and promoting talks, often acting as a mediator. The conflict in the Taikan region has been going on for some time. Both countries are ASEAN members, and ASEAN has already stepped in to mediate. China has always maintained good relations with both countries and, of course, does not want to see the conflict escalate. The second point worth noting is that Wang used a Chinese saying about brothers benefiting from harmony and helping each other when facing outsiders. It means that although brothers may argue at home, they can unite against external threats. This metaphor suggests that even if there are internal differences, they can still come together in unity when facing challenges from outside. Wang Yi's use of this ancient saying about resisting foreign aggression is clearly pointed. Right now, many ASEAN countries are facing pressure from increased U.S. tariffs, and there are plenty of economic challenges ahead. Thailand, Cambodia, and other ASEAN countries should unite and face outward together. Over the past few decades, China and ASEAN have been highly aligned, working together to create prosperity in East Asia. The last thing anyone wants to see is for external forces that don't wish China or Asia well to take advantage of the situation. Who would want that? Of course, this is referring to the US and some Western countries. But when it comes to Trump's tariff policy, the country in Asia that suffers the most isn't actually China, or even Southeast Asia, it's India. According to a Bloomberg report on August 14th, Ahmed from India's Farida Group said in an interview that under a 25% US tariff, you can still operate, maybe offer some discounts and negotiate profit adjustments with buyers. But under a 50% tariff, you'll be left with nothing, right? The report says that Farida Group is not an isolated case. If Trump goes ahead with this, India will become the country in Asia with the highest tariffs, threatening Prime Minister Modi's decade-long effort to build the Make in India initiative, which aims to challenge manufacturing powerhouses like China. The original goal of this plan was to raise the share of manufacturing in India's economy to 25% of its total GDP. But according to World Bank data, last year this proportion was only 13%, even lower than 16% in 2015. Bloomberg mentioned that in recent years, there have been some promising developments in Indian manufacturing under Modi, such as Apple expanding its iPhone assembly operations in India, making India the world's second-largest smartphone producer after China. There has also been progress in the pharmaceutical and green technology sectors. The U.S. has furthered this through policies and actions. American companies have adopted the so-called China Plus One strategy to diversify their supply chains. Now, the U.S. has already become India's largest export market and one of its main sources of foreign investment. However, these advances are now at risk. Although the tariff hikes currently exempt smartphones in the pharmaceutical industry, tariffs as high as 50% will put other parts of India's $87 billion in exports to the U.S. at risk. Even the Germans and the Chinese don't want to talk about China Plus One anymore. Companies are already considering their options. Now it's India Plus One, with foreign companies planning to pull out of India. According to Bloomberg Economics, if the 50% tariffs persist, India's exports to the U.S. could drop by 60%, putting the country's GDP at risk of being revised down by 1 percentage point. If pharmaceuticals and electronics lose their exemptions, the export decline could reach as high as 80%. Even the previous 25% tariffs were already higher than those in Vietnam, Malaysia, or Bangladesh, and were enough to threaten a 30% drop in India's exports. Slater, the head of Capstone's India business, said that besides economic challenges, Prime Minister Modi is now facing tricky political issues, because India is paying higher tariff rates than China. Bloomberg economist Kumar believes that without an agreement in place, things look tough. So, what's the estimate? The long-term potential GDP growth could drop by 1.5 percentage points. Their previous optimistic forecast for 2023 was 9%, but now the impact might come from weakened confidence, reduced investment, declining exports, and setbacks to India's manufacturing ambitions. The anxiety in factories and workshops across India is obvious. According to Sahai, CEO of the Federation of Indian Export Organizations, export demand could drop by 20% in the short term. Although right now, even though it's currently the ordering period for summer 2026, the 50% tariff is making buyers hesitate. He said, "I get 80 to 90 calls every day, all from exporters asking for solutions. Doing business under these tariff conditions is just too hard." Some Indian factories? They're slashing prices just to keep their customers. According to Bloomberg, U.S. and Indian officials are still continuing trade negotiations, and there's still hope for a trade agreement. But the report also points out that time. And on India's side? The longer this uncertainty drags on, the more companies will give up on India and start looking for other options. Senthil Kumar, a partner at Weather Consulting Group, said that India's market share in many product categories is relatively small, so if U.S. brands decide to shift their supply chains, they can move quickly. As for Farida Group, the threat of tariffs is especially serious for their shoe factories, which employ 23,000 people, over half of whom produce for the U.S. market. Every time shipments are suspended or orders are canceled, it forces them into tough decisions: either stop or cut back production, or lay off skilled workers who have honed their craft over many years. On August 10, Indian media outlet Hindustan Times reported that Jeffrey Sachs, professor of economics at Columbia University and director of the Harvard International Research Center, advised India during an interview. Sachs said that, in reality, American politicians don't care about India at all, and that India won't gain any security benefits by aligning with the U.S. to counter China. Bloomberg, citing informed sources, reported that Chinese Foreign Minister Wang may visit New Delhi next Monday, August 18. He is expected to meet with India's National Security Advisor Doval and Foreign Minister Jaishankar. According to informed sources, one of the main topics of this visit will be to discuss ways to reduce troop deployments in the disputed Himalayan border area. The sources added that this would mark significant progress in restoring mutual trust between the two countries. However, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has not confirmed any news regarding this foreign visit. Based on the current situation, China is not opposed to further easing relations with India. However, India cannot expect to play both sides between China and the U.S. to the fullest. India needs to prove that it will no longer go back to its old ways of driving out Chinese companies with harsh policies, and at the same time, it must not engage in provocative actions at the border. Lin Wang, deputy director and researcher at the Institute of International Studies, Fudan University, was interviewed earlier by the Mainland Observer Network. He said that at this stage, for India, turning towards China and Russia is just part of its diplomatic strategy of playing both sides. He analyzed that how far India can actually go in improving relations with China, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and Russia still remains to be seen. However, one thing is certain: when Trump imposed tariffs, it exposed India. India's ability to replace China as a global manufacturing powerhouse has already come under widespread doubt.